Good evening and welcome to the May 2nd meeting of council. The city of Parksville recognizes the people of the Coast Salish nations and their traditional territory upon which we gather with gratitude. I'm pleased to proclaim the month of May as Child Care Month. On behalf of council, I wish to recognize the demanding work and dedication of the early learning and child care professionals and thank these individuals for caring for children and families within our community. During the pandemic, the role of the child care providers was a vital support for our essential workers and played an important role in enabling parents to either stay in employment or return to employment. In light of Child Care Month and the need for child care services in Parksville, I'm excited for the Parksville Child and Family Center to open early summer in Parksville Community Center in partnership with the BGC Central Vancouver Island. So let's get on with the business of council. Consent agenda. So I have 3 items on the consent agenda. I need a motion. Oh, before we go, Councillor Greer is not going to be here today. He is not feeling well. Councillor Chandler is partaking via Zoom, and I can see him there. So we're all set. So we do have a quorum. All right, consent agenda, all 3 points. I need a mover and a seconder for all 3. Councillor Wilson, seconded by Councillor O'Brien. Any discussion? I will tell you that on the agenda for the meeting today, I am going to move my 2 notices of motion till next meeting, just because of I wanted Councillor Greer to be here as well when we have that conversation. So I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Correspondence. We have correspondence from T. Greene, accessibility upgrades in the park. I need a mover and a seconder to receive this. All those moved by Councillor Fraz, seconded by Councillor O'Brien. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Reports. Mr. Boven, please present your report on the 4-way stop.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. This report is to follow up on a previous resolution that staff would report back to council on the monitoring program and traffic effects due to the installation of a 4-way stop at the intersection of Despard Avenue and Moilliet Street South. The 4-way stop was installed July of 2021, so last summer. Since that time, there have been very few complaints received. At this time, it's recommended that council receive this report for information.
Need a mover and a seconder for receiving. Moved by Councillor Patterson, second by Councillor Fraz. Discussion? Call the vote then. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Mr. Russell, you're up. Can you give us, please present your report on the development variance permit at 541 Martindale Road?
If Mayor, Worship, and Council, this application is a follow-up. Required notice has now occurred for council to consider a development variance permit to facilitate an increase in the floor area to allow for the conversion of an existing dwelling into an accessory carriage house, as well as a variance to the fence height requirement within the front yard area. The details are per the report. Since the meeting, we have received 1 correspondence in support of the application from the applicant, not surprisingly. No other correspondence have been received. At this evening, if there's anyone in the gallery that wishes to speak to the application, this would be an opportunity to do so before council makes its decision.
Thank you. I ask if there is anybody that wishes to speak to this. All right. I will ask for a mover and a seconder on the motions. Moved by Councillor O'Brien, seconded by Councillor Wilson. Discussion? Councillor Patterson, Councillor Wilson, and Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick comment and everything. This is exactly the type of variance and carriage home accessory that we've looked at in the past and that I am in support of. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson?
Thank you, Your Worship, and I have to agree with Councillor Patterson. This is absolutely wonderful to have carriage homes, and I drove by the property, so I do appreciate the need for a little bit more privacy. So it's a great idea, and I wish you success.
Thank you. Councillor O'Brien?
Thank you, Your Worship. And also, yeah, this idea of the carriage house is exactly right down our alley to providing alternate housing in the city of Parksville. So I'm very pleased to see this come forward to us. I'm very much in support of that. Also in support of the fence as requested anyways for privacy. And I must say that an added bonus if you're planning on having any fruit trees in the area, that I know that there's very hungry deer in that neighborhood. So it may save your fruit trees as well. So I commend you on that. So I definitely support both variances at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Then I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried.
Certainly, if I may, Your Worship, for council consideration is whether or not to proceed with notice for a liquor license application or to not provide comment. In order to provide comment, council must provide an opportunity for people in the vicinity and the community to provide comment. So at this time, basically the proposal is to make permanent a temporary liquor patio that has been in operation during the COVID-19 pandemic. If approved, it will facilitate a licensed area of 66 people. Estimated seating is for 62 patrons based on the plans that have been submitted. So at this evening, it's basically decide whether or not to proceed with notice to allow that recommendations be provided to the Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch.
Sorry, the wrong light was lit here. My apologies. I need a mover and a seconder for this. Councillor Wilson, Councillor Fraz. Discussion? All right then. Oh, wave your hand a little bit, Councillor Chandler, so I can see when you're there. Fine. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. But yeah, I just wanted to point out that this property is a real gathering place for community, safely spaced. Everything's outside there. It's been a really, a kind of a bright light in the last couple of years. And I'm just so pleased that it's going to be one of the new operations out there that continue to pour money and goodwill into the community with their second property that they've put into Qualicum as well. So it's exciting. I'm certainly going to support this proposal, and I just very pleased to see this come forward. Thank you.
All right, Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you. And if I may, through to Mr. Russell, just a quick question. The notice of considering the applicant anyways for the signage and so forth to go, what type of turnaround is that, Mr. Russell? When could we expect the results of that survey being received back?
If I may, Your Worship, through to Councillor O'Brien, we would like to have the sign up for usually around 3 weeks or so to give it the proponent and the public an opportunity to be aware of it, as well as run a couple newspaper ads. So it would likely be back in probably about 6 weeks, be my best guess.
Thank you.
Just as a follow-up, if I may.
Certainly.
As a follow-up, but the proponent can continue to operate as is. He doesn't have to wait for further approval. Is that correct?
If I may, Your Worship, through to Councillor O'Brien, that is correct. The province has actually extended the operating date, I believe, till March 31st, 2023 for temporary licenses. So they have plenty of time.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. We have all our comments in. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Ms. Holmes, you're up next. Moving right along here tonight.
Good evening, council. Page 47 of your agenda package is the report with respect to the 2022 to 2026 final financial plan. And just to, the details are in the report, but a quick summary is that it reflects the 3.5% property tax increase and the water and sewer increases that you considered at the last meeting are reflected in the financial plan, as well as the $4 million maximum infrastructure replacement across our three funds. So all of the things that came from your March 30th council meeting and that direction has been incorporated in the final financial plan. I'll note that this financial plan does lay the foundation for a lot of capital asset initiatives. And so we'll be bringing those back to you as we get results on those and roll forward further to that initiative with respect to the funding, but also looking at our asset management plans. And I feel like we're moving forward with a lot of good initiatives in that regard. There's 4 bylaws that we'll consider later in the meeting: the general fund, the water fund, the sewer fund, and the equipment replacement reserve. So you'll see those later in the meeting. As well as you'll note in our financial plan bylaw, there's a statement of council's objectives and policies with respect to revenue generation and proportions of revenue and how we fund the activities of the city. Those have been carried forward and are consistent with prior years. What you will note in the bylaw itself, and I'll just reference you to page 80 and 81, is it does lay out the proportions of types of revenues, and it lays out the proportions of the various property taxes classes within total property taxes. And again, those are consistent with the prior year, with the exception of the property tax classes. You'll note that the light industry is higher by just a little bit than the prior year. And that's related to that equalization of our class 5 light industrial to be the same as our class 6 business rate. And so this is the final year of that equalization, further to council's direction in 2017 related to that. Other than that, it's consistent with the prior year. So I'll refer you to the recommendations that are on page 47 of your agenda with respect to the financial plan.
Thank you. Need a mover and a seconder for the recommendations. Moved by Councillor O'Brien, second by Councillor Fraz. Discussion. Again, we've said it a number of times and I cannot say it enough. What a great job staff has done on putting this whole financial plan together. I'm so very, very proud of the staff and the achievements that we've accomplished by being able to bring in a 3% increase in taxes and 0.5 point for the infrastructure reserves. Great job. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank
And if
you,
you could
Worship.
pass that on to the rest of the staff in the finance department, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, and certainly
then-
all departments contributed.
I
to
was
that.
just,
Yeah.
I was just going to go there as my very next statement, as well as to all of the department heads and all of their contributions for holding the expenses of the city down to the point where they are. Great work by everybody involved. Thank you very, very much for that.
Great. Thank you, Your Worship.
All right, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. You're doing well. Keep going.
Okay. Next, Your Worship, is the report with respect to our 2022 municipal property tax rates. And again, these flow from the financial plan and reflect council's direction with respect to a 3.5% total increase to tax rates. This year is, I expect we will get a lot of questions on this, and we have already, because the assessment increase was so significant in the range of 33-34% average. What you'll note is, just as a mathematical formula, is the actual rates have gone down because you're applying a lower rate to a much larger number. So we've had a lot of questions, and we'll endeavor in our communications to assist our public with understanding why those rates don't maybe look quite right. We've had a 3.5% increase, but the number per thousand has actually gone down because of the significant increase across the board. The other change, as I referenced earlier, is just that equalization of our class 5 and class 6. This is the 6th year of a 6-year equalization program. And so that is actually in place this year. And then from now on, they'll be the same unless we receive different direction from council. Property tax notices will go out towards the end of May. And that's kind of our timeline on that. So Rest of the details are in the report and recommendations on page 51 of your agenda package.
Thank you. I need a mover and a seconder for the recommendations. Counselor Wilson, seconded by somebody's got it. Okay, Counselor Fraz. Discussion? Thank you very much. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Ms. Weeks.
Thank you. So this report is for council consideration regarding the use of the concrete pad at the north end of the Parksville Community Park for water sport related activities. So each year the city advertises for submission of proposals to provide a service for water sport related activities or activities which complement the nature of the Parksville Community Park. The deadline for submissions was Friday, April 22nd, and only one proposal was received, and the recommendations per the council agenda.
Thank you. I need a mover and a seconder for the three recommendations. Counselor O'Brien, second by Counselor Wilson. Discussion? Counselor O'Brien.
Thank you, Worship, and through to Amanda. Yeah, I'm very pleased anyways. We had actually an application anyways for this and for it's to be kayak rentals. It said kayak rentals in the application. Was there any more detail? Were they also planning on renting out the latest pad, which happens to be stand-up paddle boards, or are they doing that as well as kayaks?
Yes, through your worship. Their equipment and services will comprise of 6 kayaks and 6 stand-up paddle boards, as well as life jackets and like emergency kits and everything like that.
That's excellent. Thank you very much.
All right. No other comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Bylaws, 3 readings, 5-year financial plan, 2022 to 2026, number 1577, the 5-year plan. Be read 3 times. I need a mover and a seconder. Counselor Patterson, second by Counselor Wilson. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Bylaws, 3 readings, tax rate bylaw 2022, number 1578. I need a mover and a seconder to be read 3 times. Counselor Wilson, seconded by Counselor. Oh, Counselor Chandler, sorry. You move your hand over just a little bit, Counselor Chandler, because it gets mixed up with the curtain behind you. So, any comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Final adoptions for the sanitary and storm sewage system amendment bylaw 2022, number 1319.19. Number 2 is the water service system amendment bylaw 2022, number 1320.31. Number 3 is the sewer parcel tax amendment bylaw 2022, number 1493.9. Number 4 is water parcel tax amendment bylaw 2022, number 1494.7. And number 5 is repealing bylaw number 2022, number 1579. I need a mover and a seconder for the recommendations, please. Moved by Counselor Fraz, second by Counselor Chandler. Discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. The motions from the previous meeting, I've suggested at the beginning of the meeting that I'm going to wait until Counselor Greer is back, because I think all of council should be in on all of these discussions, or in on these discussions. So I'm going to defer my 2 motions through until that time, if you don't mind. Do we have any notice of motions from any members in council? Okay. New business. Do we have any new business from members of council? We're just going right through this, aren't we? Just a reminder, we have a special council meeting scheduled for May the 9th at 2 p.m. And our next regular council meeting will be held on Monday, May 16th at 6 p.m. I need a mover and a seconder to move into a closed meeting. Regards to section 91 C, G, and J and K of the community charter, council proceed to a closed meeting to consider items relating to labor, legal, and proposed provision of a municipal service. So I need a mover and a seconder to go into council. Councilor Patterson, second by Councilor Wilson. All those in favor? Carried.